Hello, everyone. My name is Julie McVeigh, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of everyday people. And today we are speaking with Kandra McBrattin.
Yeah.
Kandra McBrattin. I always am afraid I'm going to mess up on the names. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I know my name is definitely not the easiest. But you did great, Kandra
Thanks. Yeah,
McBrattin.
mine's
Yeah.
Julie. Like, don't get that wrong.
I always hate like ordering food and they're like, what's your name? And I'm like, oh, should I just say something like Julie? But
Oh
I know.
yeah, absolutely. I get it.
Yeah.
So how about, if you wouldn't mind, sharing a little bit about yourself and a little background? Who are
Yeah,
you,
sure.
Kandra?
That is a really good question. I ask myself that most days. No, I am a housewife, a mom. I've been leading a very interesting life journey. I've been leading a spirit-led life, like radically, since about 2012. Um, just living and going as the wind blows and daring to believe in the encounters that I have and just really following what sets my soul on fire.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Wonderful. I'm so interested in hearing more. What initially got you interested in spirituality in general?
So I've always been attracted to the spirit realm. As in like junior high, I was attracted to witchcraft stuff and Wiccan and dabbled in like the Ouija board, and I loved scary movies. And that's when I first started realizing that I had different gifts and yeah, I awakened to some of those things.
Hmm.
Um, I can see in the spirit realm. Sometimes it's like transposed
When
over.
when you were a teenager, you started seeing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I didn't really know what to do with it, and uh can't really talk to a lot of people about those things because I was like, oh, I don't really want to be crazy, or so I kind of hid from it for a while. And did the normal life thing, worked full time, and I was working at a doctor's office, loved my job, and I heard an audible like voice tell me to quit my job. I was going into full-time ministry. And I was like, and it wasn't just that, it came with like a vision, like a dream.
At that
That
time that
at
you
the
heard it?
same exact time. Yep. And I was at work at my computer processing blood work that I had
So
just
a
drawn.
waking dream or a vision.
Yeah, like a vision. And it was this like knowing on the inside that if I didn't surrender and say yes, then it was going to be like this painful place, like asking for help. And I was like, well, definitely don't want to do that. So I'm just going to say yes.
Wait, did
And
you have any kind of religious background growing up?
little bits. So like when I was 5, went to the children's church, I remember saying that like get out of hell free card prayer that they teach you about. Um,
Like, yeah, I'll sign up.
yeah, for
I don't want
sure.
to go to hell.
And I got a free Barbie tricycle. I remember
Oh,
it very
well,
well.
bonus.
They got the number and the vote, and yeah. So I had a little bit of that, but nothing um like some Saturdays I would go and to the children's church, the bus that came around, but it was nothing like that, like nothing encouraged in home, whatever.
Hmm.
Um so when this happened, this vision,
So
I
you're
was like,
20s or
yep,
okay.
27. I believe.
Okay.
Yep, 27. It was 2012 when it happened. And right before this, I feel like I should say was on my whiteboard. And you know how people have New Year's resolutions?
Hmm.
I was like, I don't want a resolution. I want to find something out. And I was like, what makes Kandra happy? that's how I started.
Good.
And
Yeah.
what do I like to do? What do I, So I asked myself those questions, and I love to travel, and I've traveled the world. And
Wow.
I was like, well, I got to go to Scotland when I was 18, like
Oh
completely
my.
paid for. So I was like, what, how did I do that? Well, I was like serving God. So maybe there's something to that. Who is God to
Mm,
me? Was the
mm.
question that I asked. So that might have prompted this quit your job, you're going into full-time ministry.
Okay.
So, but I took a sabbatical and I just moved into a church in the middle of Detroit for a year and just dove in. I've never been a kind of stick your toe in kind of girl. I'm an all in kind of girl. So,
Yes.
yeah, that was what started it for me.
Okay, so what was that experience like, and how long were you there? And like, so yeah, like I'm so curious how this sort of transform your belief system.
Yeah. So my family lovingly refers to that time as Jesus jail. I heard that audible voice, like, I was like, okay, I'm going into full-time ministry. I don't know what this looks like. I wasn't going to church. I'm like, what
Yeah.
is this about? And I had a friend call me. I was also teaching Zumba at the time. And she's like,
Ooh,
I need help teaching. I have a job in Detroit. I need to go. And I would meditate at the time. I was dating a Buddhist
okay. Oh my
man. So
goodness.
he was meditating, and I was meditating one time and heard in the spirit that I was going to a church, a community center, a Christ-centered community center, and it was all by faith. I kept hearing this. So I was thinking that I was supposed to build it.
Oh,
So I started moving in that direction, but my friend called about Zumba, and we go down to this Christ-centered community center, all by faith, in an elementary school building. And I was like, what? This exists? And um, I had heard in the spirit that God was going to take me away for some alone time. So in my mind, I planned a road trip because that's where I heard from God. My church was my car, my meditation. I loved it.
mm,
And that's where I felt like I connected and.
yeah.
So that's what my plan was. But I go to this church and she's like, we're going to quit all of our programs and we're going to shut down everything for a 40-day fast. And I feel led to ask you to come. Do you want to move into the church with us?
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, let's do this. So I gave up everything at the time. I was single, didn't,
yeah.
have children. So I did it, like gave up my
Oh my goodness.
house, my car, everything, and just connected to the spirit and
Ooh.
lived a monk lifestyle ish. But I
What was the
learned
denomination, did you say?
it
Like,
was Christ centered, but it they were like Word of Faith, Holiness Baptist
mm,
background
okay.
in
Okay.
denomination, Christian denomination, whereas I came more from the spirit realm.
Okay.
So we didn't always agree on theology or things like that, but it
Okay.
was community and like coming together in love and serving the
Mm,
community.
mm,
So yeah,
okay.
it was really cool.
And so you developed there. I had experiences there. Any that you want to
Oh yeah.
share?
Um, just, I mean, being in prayer 5 hours a day and
5 hours a day.
5 hours a day and just being intentional about learning and absorbing. I've had many, many encounters and like that have come to fruition. I mean, Holy Spirit taught me how to, and I say Holy Spirit, but that's connection to source, right? Like my higher self, I've
Mhm.
learned and developed. Um, but it got to the point where I could order pizza with toppings and it would manifest like within
Wait, what do you
24
mean?
hours. I got really good. Like Holy Spirit started teaching me like law of attraction and
So when you said
manifesting.
order, what do you mean order?
Like I'd be like, Holy Spirit, I want Pizza Hut pizza with pineapples and pepperonis, and it would
Okay.
walk through the door. Like, here you go. A volunteer would bring it in. One time I was walking down the
Okay, let
hallway
me
and I'm
ask
like,
you a question,
yeah,
because this is really fascinating. I mean, I've talked to people before that, are quite certain that our intention is quite powerful, and we can sort of create our own reality
oh yeah.
in a big way, even on this heavy 3D reality. Um, is there any chance that this is more of a premonition? So you are kind of tapping into something that is going to happen, or has the potential of happening, and you tap into that, and then your additional connecting to it and attracting it, so to speak, helps bring that potential future into reality. Does that make sense?
I believe I'm picking up what you're laying down. I guess the way that I'm hearing that is you like tap in and you into the spirit realm and you see what's going to happen. So then that sways your desire and your intention to focus and manifest it here into this realm. I do believe that is a huge part of it. And that's what I believe we are actually sent. When I say we are sent here, I believe that there are those of us star seeds, whatever,
Oh, okay.
that is our intention. That is what we came to do. And there's scientific proof to back it up. The morphic fields, the things that I believe that there are those of us who came here to set up signposts and awaken within certain times to help receive the downloads from the other places, the spirit realm, to impress upon this earth, the 3D, and have that manifest. I do believe that big time.
Okay. Now I'm really curious if you're going to eventually get to, you don't have to go there now, but how you discovered that you are a starseed, and yeah, and that information, and if it came from research or more from a download of information from source, intuition.
I picked C, all of the above. Um, so since like within my journey of awakening, I know like I find soul satisfaction in helping others. I'm a teacher by nature. Like I loved
Yeah.
teaching anatomy and physiology at the college. Like I loved it.
Yeah.
I genuinely love humanity. Like, so for me, ministry was super cool to be able to connect and see. And I was just doing another podcast this morning and I was sharing with them like how this happens for me in this. And she's studying ancient languages. So it was really cool to see it all tied together again, the synchronicities. And but I have conversations and help people. I an awakening doula, so to speak. Like I walk with people through spiritual transitions now it's a process. And as we do this, information is exchanged, exchanging of the scrolls, if you will, and wisdom. And I've picked up on, different things. I have this gift. When I'm with you, I can encounter your realm, your field. And when you speak, you paint vivid images in my mind. I don't know if it's part of the teacher thing. It served me when I was a teacher. I would love getting that aha moment from people.
Oh, yeah. No, I do
So
relate to that.
yeah,
That
so this,
getting, when they receive that, oh, aha, and then they're sinking in, they're getting at it, and it's very rewarding.
yes. So that starseed thing, it's just, I've received it, I've heard it. I was going through a situation in life and I'm like, God, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel fair. I was fighting between love and logic. And I went outside and my cousin was looking at a Google Maps and he looks up and this thing just jumped out at me, like this constellation. it was the star Google thing. It's super cool. And
Mm.
I was like, what is that? Like, I was like, can you screenshot that? Like, I need to look at this. And it was the constellation of Cygnus. And this was in mythological times or whatever, the myth is that it was the god that brought balance over humanity between love and logic. And I was like,
Oh, oh my goodness.
is
Right.
this real life? Like, I just had this conversation.
Right.
And then I was in another conversation and she said, I think that's your origin point. I think that's where your star your higher self is from. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't even have a grid for that. Like, help me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Praying for someone else. All of a sudden I see myself as like an avatar, like right in the spirit realm, having an encounter here. And I'm like, so it comes when I pray for people or encounter people, I get like little pixels or bits of information that help fill in the dots for me.
Hmm.
So
I
that's
always
why I said
wonder,
see
like,
all
are
of the
those,
above.
yeah. Um, I always wonder when people talk about these images, these flashes that they get, it's so hard for me to like grasp because, is it like, like when you're reading a book, let's say you're reading a book and you start all what they're talking about in the book starts to take sort of life in your brain
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
almost are there. Is
Yeah.
that what it's like? Sort of, or is it even more real, like a lucid dream would be, and you feel, does it feel more solid and vibrant and real than even the light imagination that you might have when reading a book?
Solid question. For me, it's layers like that.
Mm.
Sometimes it's a quick thought bubble, like you remember something.
Okay.
Um, so it imprints upon my imagination. So sometimes it is like that. Um, when you are intentional and you go into that place to experience, I'm assuming that you go into that place, that 0 point place within yourself before you travel, right? When I go there, it sometimes it's solid like a movie. Sometimes it's um that imagination. So when I go to 0 point, it like is on a screen in the background of a black background, if that makes sense for me.
Hmm.
Um and that is almost the same place when you're reading a book, that it comes to life in your mind, right?
Hmm.
Um, but other times it's with my eyes and it's laid over this reality. So
So your
sometimes,
physical eyes are open?
yep,
Are you,
sometimes.
and so you can kind of see two layers in a sense?
Hmm. Hmm. I
Gotcha.
had an encounter for 3 days. Jesus's face did not leave from in front of me. It was the craziest.
During
Like,
that time? Oh no, another time?
no, this was a year ago.
What was that
I,
about? Tell me more. Like do you know why and
yeah,
what did you learn?
yeah,
And my
yeah.
goodness.
So I was coming out of this place, uh, kind of walking through Christianity, right? Remember earlier we talked about walking in, walking right back out. so
Yeah, I still want to know a little bit about that, but yes.
yeah. So I'm in a church, which I said I would never go back to church at this point because I was offended at the church. And here I am in a church. It was a setup, but whatever. And I'm just like worshiping again. And all of a sudden I have this encounter. And so I have my eyes closed. I'm in 0 point. When I say worshiping, that's it. I'm not praying to Sky Daddy out here. I know God within,
Okay,
right?
you're
So
getting
I'm
in touch
encountering.
with the divine within.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So I'm like in this place, and it was like over 3 days that led up to it. The one I had an encounter where I didn't realize that still the posture of my heart was me down here trying to serenade like God up here. So I had this picture of like Romeo, Juliet throwing the pebbles,
Absolutely.
right? Like,
Yes.
and then it was like God scooped me up and put me on the balcony with him. And he said, never again are you to think that you're below me. You're on the same level. And
Wow.
it was like, what? And I was like,
Wow,
okay, God,
yeah.
can I have something like in the natural to anchor me to this point? And at that time, the pastor was going around with anointing oil. So the smell like just came to me. So it was like in the natural too, right?
Hmm.
So it's like just wrecked crying. And then the next night, I heard in the spirit, I'm giving you a ring. And I closed my eyes and like I saw the ring, I saw the imagery of it. And I also received a crown and a scepter, like in the spirit. Um, and then I had a 3-day encounter where Jesus's face was literally before me, like trying to drive, see, and I'm going to be honest, I was getting annoyed. I'm like, can you like go somewhere? Like, please, I can't. But it was so like this intimacy, this just like fire, like, but then at the end, he separated from me. So it was, we were both looking with intention. And I know what he was teaching me now is I am the being that's here to bring heaven to earth as that star seed, like I talked about. And we have the power of observation as creators and who we are to quantumly create. So we can take these things, behold them, observe them the way that we want them to be, use our power and our emotion, our intention to imprint it into the morphic field to have it manifest from the matrix. So
Whoa.
yeah.
Wait, how long
So
ago was that?
that was about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
so gosh, I have so many questions now, but
That's
I'm,
fair. So I'm like all over.
oh, it's so interesting. So I'm still curious though,
Yeah.
you had that one, years ago in 2012, that whole religious experience, I guess,
Yeah.
spiritual experience slash with religion kind of involved in it,
Mm-hmm.
benefited greatly from it.
Yes.
And then you said you went back into a church and then out of a church. What do you mean?
Yeah. So earlier I said when I went into Jesus jail, I
Yeah.
went in, we didn't really agree theologically. I started reading the Bible and learning the authority and like the spirit realm of the Bible.
Okay.
Um, and I would ask questions of the pastor, and it made him really uncomfortable. And I challenged a lot of thoughts and beliefs because I would receive from the spirit and get revelation. And um,
Now, did he know this, that you were receiving in such a way?
mhm.
Okay.
They didn't really know. A lot of people don't really know what to do with me because I don't fit into their theological boxes.
Okay.
But yet I don't fit traditional norms. Um, but you can't deny the fruit. So that's where
Yes.
the hard part is. So you trigger, you know what I mean? And
Yes, absolutely.
I now I've learned to love who I am in that. And but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hurtful. Or I've been kicked out of more churches than most people.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah, how interesting. I'm just wondering how you integrate all of this, because
yeah.
that's got to be kind of a
Well,
challenge.
it is, but I know like God's really faithful to me, and when I ask why, I get an answer, and I'm grateful for that.
Mm,
Um God,
awesome.
like, yeah. It's cost me a lot to be where I'm at. I've lost everything 4 or 5 times.
Mm,
To continue to say yes and journey with spirit and
mm.
grow and elevate and not fit into boxes. Like, well, when you start testing and trying the things, all of a sudden, have you seen that meme that has Big Bird at the boardroom table? And it says how you feel after like knowing that you're multi-dimensional self and like trying to be in the 3D realm. Have you seen that meme?
I don't think so.
Dude, I'm totally
But
gonna
it
have to send it to
sounds
you.
what you're saying sounds familiar, but not the image. Maybe I've seen a
Okay.
different meme with a different image. I mean, the same meme with a different image.
Yeah. So it's like when you say yes to, or, you're in a certain thought pattern and, you get comfortable, but as you grow, like, give me revelation and all of this, you start challenging things or you have these experiences. It's like, how do you
Right.
line this up? How do you,
Yeah.
you know? So, I mean, as I grow, I just, God's faithful to like provide and give me the joy. I don't
You're
know.
open and flexible. You seem very
Yeah.
flexible with yourself and your experiences,
Yeah.
which that's helpful, I'm sure. I'm curious, like if a couple different things. I just want to hear more about some of your profound or unusual experiences. Maybe if you've, met loved ones who have passed on, if you've met
Oh
your
yeah.
guides.
Yeah. So well, I shouldn't say the first time. As I've been awakening to more things that I didn't realize I shut down because of previous Christian thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
like necromancy is of the devil, blah, blah, blah. I was having lunch with a friend and her passed on grandfather just like appeared. And
Oh,
when I say appeared, it was another one of those overlapping of the 3D, like a thought bubble almost. And he just like came through. And I was like,
this was your first
BFF.
time experiencing this?
To this degree.
Okay.
Um, I was like, was your grandfather a pastor? And she's like, yeah. And all of a sudden I had all of this knowledge of him, who he was, what he wanted to
Wow.
say. And I was like, yeah, so he's here and he has all of this to say. He's even got a hat. I knew he carried a cane. I've never seen a picture of him. In the natural, I had no idea.
Wow.
But it was really cool because I like to give that kind of closure. And since then, it's happened quite a few times where people's
Mm,
passed on loved ones or even mine. Just recently, I had my grandfather transitioned.
right.
And because of all of my other encounters, it is totally different for me. Like,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I thought for sure um, that my grandfather's death would have wrecked me. Like, he was like a second parent to me, you know? Um, but now it's like knowing that I have someone that close on the
Mm,
other side in my cloud of witnesses
mm.
that I get to tap into, who like it excites me, that I trust, that I love.
Oh, yeah.
And to know like it's a whole different thought pattern than it would have been for me 3 years ago.
Oh, that's really good to know. I was going to ask you like how you've changed and your thoughts about death and et cetera have
Oh
changed. So that's amazing. And so now you're not a practicing medium though. Would you call yourself a medium? Or
I
is it
have
just when it happens?
yeah, I've been asking spirit like what to even call myself because I don't fit in these boxes, and I heard awakening doula. So I'm like,
Okay.
okay, I'll go with that. Um
Awakening doula. Interesting.
yeah.
I just interviewed a death doula,
Yeah.
which I had never heard that term before. And this is really cool. I feel like there's so much happening.
Mhm.
Um, and there's so much happening that's just not, I'm glad that it's slowly coming to light
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
we're getting to
Me
learn
too. Yeah.
from people like you who are willing to share. Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean, obvious, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Some of the things that it seems kind of natural to you, do
Mhm.
you believe that people can be trained in some of these things and learn how to tap into maybe their psychic abilities or mediumship abilities?
100%. Um, I I've done it. That's part of what I like. One crazy experience being led to a church where I get told in the spirit to take a job, say something to someone about the job. They're like, no, there's no job here. 2 days later, the job manifests
Hmm.
to the like where I'm at the church and I hear this girl's there, just randomly there. And I'm like, who are you and why? And she said, I don't know. I felt so I'm like, okay. And I heard, tell her who she is, that she's not crazy. She does hear from me. She does see me,
Mm,
and teach her how to prophesy. I'm using church language because that's where we were. And I'm like, okay. So I just look at her. I'm like, hey, you're not crazy. You do hear from God. You do see from God. You see. And I said, and she was like, I said, so this is how you prophesy. I said, close your eyes, be intentional, ask a question. You'll see an image. Ask spirit what it is. Trust the voice.
Mm.
And I told her to give me a prophetic word right there on the spot. She had me in tears.
Whoa.
I've had prophetic word, like she just read my mail so clearly. So, and she was in tears because to be told that you're not crazy, like you can't talk to people. So I 100% believe that that's a thing, especially right now. There's so many people who are struggling with, you know, there's not enough spoken about when you go through the awakening process. There's grief. It's a death. You're dying to a whole way of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But yet there's so much more. You know what I'm saying? Like to go through those processes, like I understand the doula part of it, you know?
Yeah.
But the beauty of it's literally the beauty for ashes, you know, like when you come out of it, you're like that phoenix. You realize you really are that badass dimensional multi-dimensional big bird that's sitting there, you know, like
Yeah.
we are amazing, Julie. The power that we have to harness and the things that we are capable of, it's exciting. I'm excited for your journey.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited for yours.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, we're getting kind of closer to being out
Yeah.
of time. But before, I do have a couple other questions. But before I ask, I just don't want you to go without, if there's something on your heart that Spirit's leading you to share, just interrupt me and just let that flow. I just want to make sure that I put that out there for you.
Thank you.
But so I'm kind of curious if you are working on any like current projects right now that you might want to share, and how the listeners might contact you or connect with you.
Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel and a Facebook page called Candid Chicken, Candid with a K, where on my spirit-led journeys, I sometimes have interviews with people, and so sometimes I throw them on there. That's kind of my current project, one of the things that I'm working on. And you can connect with me on any of the social media platforms as Kandra McBrattin and KandraMcBrattin.com. I try to update it regularly with some of the projects that I'm working on. But yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I love your energy and infectious,
Thank you.
So I really appreciate you taking this time to hang out with me for a little bit.
Yeah.
And thank you to everyone who is watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang with us. And
Yeah.
this has been Julie McVeigh with Unordinary Made Ordinary, and I hope you'll join us next time for another fascinating interview. And if you enjoyed this, please hit the button, to like and thumbs up. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe or follow, and then look for future videos. You can hit the bell icon if you're on YouTube, and you'll be alerted to future videos. I do hope you're having a fantastic day or evening wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. We'll see y'all next time. Excuse me. See y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.